Hello everyone, we are back for the second session today. Today we are going to talk about how do we learn engineering. This is one of the most important and the critical part which most students miss out on. Primarily what happens is when we are in our 11th, 12th, we put in a lot of effort. Every single day we would be working for about 8, 10, 12, 14 and maybe we would also be focusing on a lot of examinations. For example, you would be looking at common entrance exams, you would be looking at JEE, you could be looking at various other exams, NEET and so on and so forth. But what happens once we get into graduation? The very same student who was working for about 12, 14, 16 hours a day drops down to 12, 14, 16 hours a month. And that is where the learning process starts to hinder. We don't put in that amount of effort that is really required for you to be a real engineer with a lot of knowledge and which can propel you into your growth. Now, why does this happen? Most of the times in the colleges, in your +1, +2, people tell you 12th is the most critical year in your life. This is the make or break period of your life. And hence, you need to really focus on your career at this point in time, and after that, it's all going to be a jolly game. Unfortunately, we all believe this particular statement. And once we get into our graduation, we stop learning. We feel we have reached the target in our life. And once we feel this, once we feel that we have already reached the critical point, then we just relax. We don't really focus on our education further. This is the exact cause of problem. And this is the very reason most business houses or technocrats come up making a statement, the Indian graduates, approximately about 85 to 90% of them are unemployable. The reason being, the skill sets that are to be developed by these students are not developed. Why does this happen? As I said, someone who is working for 10, 12, 14 hours a day has skipped down to just about 10, 12, 14 hours a month. Just prior to the examination or the test, you go back to your books, learn and go try to reproduce the same. And some people will be able to reproduce the same and get about say 70%, 80% or 90% of your marks, and some may not be able to and end up with a score of about 50, 60 or so. Now what happens with this? You have never learned the skills that are to be developed over the period of your 4 years of engineering degree. Now, how do we overcome this? This has to be overcome with the fact of your engineering degree being 4 years. And there are 4 stages of learning. What is the first stage of learning? The first stage of learning is trying to understand as many things as possible. It is just taking the overview of it. It's a bird-eye view wherein you are able to see almost everything. What do we mean by almost everything? You would be generally exposed to mechanical engineering, electronics engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering, physics, chemistry, mathematics, a lot of these subjects which you would have possibly studied in your +1, +2. But there is going to be a little more depth with which you will have to understand these concepts. Now, once you understand the fundamentals here in the first year, then you need to focus on identifying that one particular field which you want to make a career in your second year. And the next 2 years are meant for only developing skills in that particular domain. This is very important because your skill development is always going to be a focused path. Now, for example, when a rocket is being launched, it carries a lot of accessories along with it. It completes the first stage, a lot of components gets dismantled, they are dropped down, and then the rocket takes the second stage. On the completion of the second stage, few more things are being removed. Third stage, few more things get eliminated, and finally the small satellite piece along with its small engine gets placed in the orbit. Education is also similar. When we are in our school days, there will be one particular teacher who is teaching 3-4 subjects. Then over the period of time, we find that every single subject has a specific teacher who starts teaching you, because it's getting more specialized. And as and when things get specialized, we also start seeing science as 3 different components, as physics, chemistry, biology. And then the teachers who are teaching you these 3 subjects are also different. Then you start further moving up the ladder. You also start looking at people saying organic chemistry is different from inorganic chemistry. So every step has got a bifurcation. Same way you have studied a lot of courses till you are +1 and +2. When you come to engineering, a brief overview of what engineering is being told to you. So you have to explore as many fields as possible during the first year of your engineering. The present generation, I would say, is really blessed, because there are various simulation tools that you have. And these simulation tools expose you to how to design circuits, how to design or test your systems. And once you know how to design your systems, how to test your systems, in the first phase, you would have been told a rectifier, how to connect a diode. But the number of types of diodes that you would have studied in the class would be possibly 1 or 2. But if you just go in and type diodes, types of diodes, you'll find at least a few numbers. Now, trying to understand each diode over here is important. You have to identify what type of diode is being used for what kind of application. Every single type of diode is not meant for every single application. A normal diode cannot be replaced with a Zener diode. Zener diode cannot be replaced with a tunnel diode. So once you keep going into this particular path, you will realize over the period that there are different types of diodes, and these different types of diodes have to be used for specific causes. Now go to your simulator, place these different diodes and see the performance of these diodes. Nobody in an engineering college is going to tell you this, but you have to go to the simulators. You have to place these components, rig up the circuit in simulation environment, test the performance of the devices. Once you understand the performance of these devices, that is when you realize there is a lot more to learn than what is just given in your books. Most of the cases, what happens is, we look at a diode in our +1, +2, and we are talking about the same diode in your first year of your engineering. You feel, oh, it is the same thing which is being repeated. But unfortunately, it is not the same thing that is being repeated. There are a lot more things that are being added up. The minutes of these components are being discussed during your engineering. So you need to focus on learning these components. Being attentive in the class is of utmost requirement. Please don't skip the classes. This is one of the major blunders that most engineering students do, because of which they do not gain skills. Now that we are talking about skills, skills are developed only when you have hands-on practice. I was talking about simulation-based environments. You have nothing to lose. You have a computer, you have simulation softwares, you are just rigging up the circuit. If your circuit is wrong, the simulation results are going to be erroneous. You don't lose anything there. So please go into the simulation environment, prove your designs first on the simulation environment. Once your system is ready on the simulation environment, then you have to transfer it onto a hardware. Do the hardware testing, and then finally end up with a project. Now that I'm talking about project, most students in their graduation, whenever they are asked to do their project, either it be in the pre-final year or the final year, either go to some institute, purchase a project, come back and submit it in the college. Or some students also go in with an option of working a little harder, design that one particular thing, submit it, and there will be a group of 3 or 4 students, out of which 2 students will be working on it, and the remaining will not even look at it. Finally, on one particular day, a presentation is being prepared, submitted. This is the scenario. With this, how do you develop skills? You don't. That is the exact reason why I'm focusing so much on skill development. Now let us come to your projects. When we talk about projects, everybody goes in, probably in electronics and communication engineering, buys the Arduino board, takes up a few sensors and a few actuators, maybe motors, displays, and then connect them together. Try to copy a small piece of code from somewhere, put it across, make it work, and show this as my project. You have completed your requirements as far as your academics is concerned. But with this, neither you are going to end up anywhere, nor there is going to be any contribution from your end to the society. Then how do we identify the projects? The first and foremost thing that you have to do when you are identifying your project is think whether you will be able to place that particular thing as a product in the market. If you can think of a project which can be converted into a product and placed in the market for sales, and if you are able to think of an enterprise being developed out of it, that is when you can say your project work has given you some skill sets to develop. Now, having spoken about this, let me make a couple of quick points. Point number 1, please do not do your projects just for the sake of doing a project for your academic requirements. It should be a product and not a project any further. Whenever you talk about it, it should always be a product building and not a project building. Now, this is one part. The second most important thing that I have to say is always remember 11 all-rounders cannot win matches, whereas 11 specialists can win most of your matches. So it is very important for you to be a specialist, not an all-rounder. And specialists are created by only hard work, and hard work, which develops a lot of skills in you. And I'm sure with this skill development that we're going to have, we will be able to contribute a lot more to the society. And hence, my sincere urge to all of you is focus on skill development, to focus on being a specialist, and hence contributing to the growth of the society. Thank you. Looking forward to you in the next video, wherein we'll talk about entrepreneurship as a part of your product development and take things forward from there on. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you.